We're winning the mind games off the bat.
So I guess that means it's new next time.
It's all cards are fun.
So it's new.
Where's the plan, the advantages, they're all new.
I was told I had to risk the stable stuff. The 2 cards.
Okay, I sent it.
Like, it adopts a nuclear no first use policy, and I feel like you can't say that's new.
Yeah, we did the same thing yesterday. We were like, NFU all new.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could be Texas.
Except this time it's NFU for Hegel reasons.
Yeah.
Feedback. Can you make sure I get the record button on the iPad? Is it recording?
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember if I hit record.
Oh, hell no. Okay.
Okay, everyone good?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I got the doc, but
Oh.
I'll be fine. I'll be okay. You can go ahead.
Okay.
It went to her.
No, got it. Great. Good.
Awesome. Contention one is uniqueness. American global commitments are unsustainable. One is overstretched. The combination of global commitments and brutal supply chains makes short-term collapse like the Notovskaya 24 years, where policy sufficient of ensuring security. The other one with little thought to resolve a current international basis struggle to meet capacity for Ukraine is also understood supply with such resources and sustainable with jeopardizing all U.S. efforts to balance result for independence and shrinking numbers of subject providers into structural supply chains with space ability for the categories production of peace. I'm not about just primary GDP programs that wholly out manufacturing but used to fix supply chains into China, U.S. with the last structure region for realistic. The Pacific competent military would run out in 3 days for stability at current pace would fight back for activation of the U.S. that lacks our position to defend this position because military DME are such. Then 2, resolve gap credibility signaling that we care as much as adversaries about hotspots is absolutely impossible. Wall 24 U.S. foreign policy field. Then in our economic adversary world policy face the deeper social problems adversaries are going to take under relation to second sacrifice American superpower. We overcome our opponents to be resolved for powerful regions are going to really equipped with the U.S. prosperity. Every war fought by U.S. is war transmitted any Korean Mao second sacrifice. The 100,000 feet of U.S. from controlling a peninsula Vietnam, the North Vietnam needs carry even more endured border losses and prevails similar in Ukraine. Russian leaders and soldiers in Ukraine's backers are not the same in Taiwan, no matter how often officials trust Chinese autonomy, survival interest. 3, political backlash, polarization, and rising isolationism ensures support for global engagement will dry up. Problem 24, that politics, that's also about nationalism, partisanship, polarization, foreign policy support for international engagement. Some of those supported in your history, 45% want the U.S. to take last after world majority of our policy in the U.S. should take out Americans are simple. This country should spend more military on process for policy for hard domestic America's nation 29 must no trust like support cutting military spending sports. Military reserves of American foreign policy are ceiling the strong headwinds. Any additional spending must cut into probably domestic domestic support and growth average really 3% produced for hot allocated service. That's where will increase government energy our massive party social security face bankruptcy. 4, Trump he will win in 2024. Zitner 4-2 Trump's interest is for 7. Most communities provolve by process just after the economy. The tells about the trolls. The polls unsubstantial and have to develop for most influence by the poll off America 2020 by New York March activities. Precedent's performance outweigh positive by 16%. Trump's earns are unfavorably and only single state by 1%, which candidate has better fit to signal the way has 48% for Trump, 28% Biden. It's already class for among black, Hispanic, and young voters. Structural advantages guarantee Trump victory. Kagan 23 Trump. The China had it all polls until now. Republicans went. The criticism of Trump wins to reducing people fall in line nation party. Decide peers not just for the open to support televised coverage of Mr. Trump use to business candidacy. Trump will the moment to be restored as a unified party boundaries out of America. Democrats already high continue to increase the presidential commission on the election fund. The black area voters outside the RF. The candidate Georgia presidency never said that coalitions like the paper fascists but it's not enjoying beating Trump step on the also uncovered Trump and Georgia on and see what he carries the world from Ukraine, Israel, and push Afghanistan, Georgia, advantages on Trump's national movement by Russian just cuss. With the system Trump benefits her because he offers symbol to him. Charles he wants to televise over himself because he crosses lines. His second term will be worse than the first. Constraints will be removed. Bound 24 Trump. Mitch Knox in 2016 Trump signed with establishing program over 80 since become more valid. Their influential think takes over. He ensure the ideas can be the influential Trump's chaotic first term announcements of religious action block maker and some Baptist Trump is on liquid and such a different figures as Trump represents extreme unilateral and marginalized our World War II air app. You're psychologically primed against the risks of a Trump presidency. In truth, there are no intervening actors. Katie 23 maybe they'll be held in episode dream him circulation that allows us to fast to action expectations of how we do it. So watch for ahead, but we will assume somehow the fight directions get shorter looking possible. Many obstacles have been cleared 8 years ago. They seem inconceivable. Trump could be larger than magical. The president would they try to make an office for losing no one could believe Trump can be removed if there's 50% chance of Russia being for no one who can or hope or taking average against people measures to stop it. Fatal psychology but more people go into confidence that somehow there's something what's stopping human choice that become high risk hoping for the best of people can see help. Tension 2 is a commitment trap. Collapsing power projection makes the traditional strategy of strategic ambiguity underlying our global commitments untenable. Adversaries that allies perceive changing balance of power and test our commitments in response. Grab 324 Biden keep facing our reach of intervention credible is under pressure not adversaries that allies like they have to return people more often making guarantees. And because many further turn on over military issues, that was not how it worked out to find South Korea. They're running out around the North of Washington. Great makes its explicit state deterrence 3 factors first to hear minimal turn on South Korea, Cold War, Washington, I did not have a superior relation show. That was going to China, West, Middle, West, secondly, Asia becomes a competitive approach to the allies Manila, Seoul, Tokyo, Los Angeles, where clarity, self-ability, obligation to figure out was the big cannot return all but to plus someone who has the ability to defend all comments to avoid geopolitical big run. In response, the U.S. is attempting to retain primacy on the cheap by daring adversaries to test nuclear deterrence. This wager is not credible, but the commitment trap it inevitably produces will force nuclear escalation. Brands and Edelman 17 to live with the risk of the default for overseas power. The U.S. has wager commitments are only to because adversaries the U.S. bridge capabilities commitments got the reverse your strategies that substitute the armament stations escalation for resources will rely on nuclear warfare, nuclear retaliation for deterrence and knowledge you can take a serious liabilities hoping might work for a while, but as a way those will be tested on even devastating price run. The reputation and credible U.S. could experience this using more business image as people never cover a bluff could weaken deterrence reassurance and allies adversaries between balance power understanding carriages are critical the U.S. Get out with them to try to conflict risk here. The approaches all lack credibility the Quran levels possess target racing for watchers and statues U.S. Racing for escalation the city of trap words confirmed with choice between escalatory option dark and saying awareness is based adversaries in the first place love the conventional question crazy or Islamic sexing approaches. Trump makes this dynamic particularly dangerous in the face of inevitable nuclear crisis. He will escalate instead of backing down. Bears the 23 looking at inevitable nuclear crisis from North Korea. The China, Iran, Russia, and Iran will take North Korea will present political geopolitics for purposes who makes deep expedition to the North Korea's Exxon missiles. The regular escalation dominance is war torn paper aggression belligerent about nationalism and nuclear menace. The first state force also by the water section president. They should take nuclear menace. The control of illegal is a post factor that was urgent to flow from sequentially uncontrollable escalation. American President Washington of refractory escalation and only opportunity capitulation to avoid this not even factor in hacking acid with manipulation. The problem is control. One up mentioned nuclear strategies, challenges nuclear issues worsened by American Russia's first use survival over Kurdish, and history demonstrates that the U.S. cannot avoid drawing, even if it embraces full isolationism. O'Hanlon, 24 Trump, the invitation would have his the way to say to change the president, which was comments to attack ally, which has been proven attack for these kinds of things happen. Trump would be some more social different ally who might who would no longer Trump and our country for when see revision the base of the had allies and forces sold out from Turkey and World War I reason over even as the war anymore. At times specifically to independence from security from Vietnam, there's nobody who would be Kurds out of Russia's on opportunity to slowly fire. No first use solves commitment trap. Federal will stall 18 repeatedly. Signal is using current commitment to go that current commitment using fuel compulsive all the nuclear sauce even on eyes out of fuel failing. It is what's commands of often push also commands of such a low position of which use may use. No critical commitment trap application no first use where this focus cannot turn on nuclear attacks. Plan the United States to adopt a nuclear no first use policy. Contention 3 is Europe. Collapse of extended deterrence makes EU rearmament inevitable in the long run. Bergman 24. Trump victory recurrence among trans-allegiance and simulate dramatic subject of action from policy for US disengagement with the onus and European civil security estimate. A very essential one. Europe is running through Western COVID EU concept of Trump. The EU would only take action to defend and integrate forces in Europe would have little choice but extreme economic reality. But Europe will wait to rearm until the very last second. Nixon 24. Time to the wake up to Germany. Independence cut out for two Thomas Alpha York and Nigel the review. Europe needs to start out and wait to see Europe over scale by using engagement and alliance to review the last statement. The template to Europe because it's self-fulfilling prophecy in Europe capitals and temptations to not and it's tight and hope that Europe should have some Germany is coming prepared. They may not have long. That procrastination creates the worst of all worlds. A divided and chaotic rearmament effort produces the fractured strategy. Tochi 24 to get the Trump proof on Ukraine. Europe have fearful trouble this would be really but open direction of it ramped up beyond Ukraine. Europe need to start European pillar needed to the anticipation of possible Trump. We're doing nothing over the area would become the reaction to if I came out God matter of fears realize would be seized on who would take the resulting window of opportunity with both the US and Europe's commitments to Eastern Europe weakened to invade the Baltics with nuclear weapons. Why at 24 Trump boasting would resolve Ukraine in 24 hours with the question Ukraine about territory. Trump's administration for windows with a disdain of second Trump would have huge conflicts with balance power. Trump Europe Trump is hated on warnings with Russia would come next year. Germany able to fully compensate the loss of any country to be show the replenishment with which all US Russia this nuclear arsenal would enter nuclear by lose inhibition by use of arsenals of both these Europe and allies will align with the police and conventional forces would be the Washington didn't have a operation consolidate and Ukraine invade the Baltics. Baltic war goes nuclear because NATO will have to rely on nuclear escalation. Conventional deterrence is key. Bowen 22 Quinn fuels to be secure mission survivors in Europe and the most NATO to conventional forces to able to take countries and build will feel and they take time innovative vulnerability use the nuclear weapons will perform European security Russian construction plan on into Ukraine defensive focus Ukraine and the confer forces for attack on NATO to defense potential threat responding with nuclear arsenal units at 80% many of us crippled with an action could quickly get out of the power because the general nuclear disaster could attack a multi maybe the war similar to the Chinese national and rural race much resolution is recurrent system. The plan facilitates gradual European rearm. Europe is capable of deterring Russia, but they're free riding now because of the nuclear umbrella. Walt 24 Europe. The ability to maintain substantial force relative to US to want to keep always performing committed balance of power predicts here 6 year old because these 24 structure the girl states under the umbrella and anyone else unfortunately security collective states for Russia which members contribute disproportionality. Europe members have similar land power. The Russian vortex more people economies are 10 larger several hosts again RPG even without Holocaust. Duplications and efficiency Europe was more than enough potential to RGP Russia also putting Europe to be American global protected under any circumstances with Los Angeles conventional forces if you're not confident about it, your control all your conventional forces US officials the encourage British violence moving to this direction will give time to overcome the limits and put on action. Now is key to engineer a soft landing clearly communicating the plan under Biden before a crisis arises overcomes free riding. Wall 22 Europe take responsibility for security cannot be imposed over some of the US helping European regardless of capabilities any states will do everything to stay Washington to make it of course the only model we can support until these arms will be states. Their own world resolve remains fragile to waxing on pushes as expected unlike Trump, both whose mom has right allies, but his idea, his reputation as allies is pushing a new division wouldn't be seen as resentment.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to start on the uniqueness stuff. Trump win. Your evidence of citing polls. Why is that a good metric?
Well, polls generally indicate the nature of the election because it's a signal of voters' opinions, and empirically, polls have been used as an indicator to predict election results.
Doesn't
The second thing is that the polls are our only warrant. The Kagan evidence says that Trump has structural advantages because Biden does not enjoy the typical advantages of incumbency because everyone is paying attention to Biden's failed foreign policy strategy. Trump has a foreign policy strategy that is more palatable to Americans now because young voters support
so the
pulling back
argument is
on
like
a militarism abroad.
young voters, old voters alike care tons about foreign policy, and that's why Trump wins, correct?
No,
it's not
that's
just
like
about policy.
yeah.
The argument that Kagan is making is that Trump enjoys the advantages of incumbency because everyone knows about his last presidency and generally likes it. Biden only has
Everyone
the
likes
disadvantages of
Trump's last
incumbency.
presidency. Like swing
Yeah,
voters.
That's what Kagan says.
Okay.
But Biden has the disadvantages of incumbency because like Ukraine, inflation, Gaza are all tied around his neck. Like no.
Interesting. Okay, Europe scenario. Europe proliferates with nukes, correct? In like the world of the AFF.
Ooh, no.
Nope.
The Nixon
What do they
evidence
do?
is about European rearm, so that would be conventionally rearming, and that would mean
Why is conventional rearm the most probable scenario? Like they're no longer under an umbrella, so they go conventional. Why?
well, like I mean that doesn't have to be the only thing that Europe does, but our evidence says that in order to compensate for the U.S.'s overstretched conventional commitments, Europe will develop a conventionally strong army because the U.S. is currently disproportionately holding.
Do you think you read a card saying that Europe has like the capabilities to develop those capacities?
Well,
Yes, like
Which
the
one?
well,
the wall card.
What do you think Walt says that substantiates that?
It says, yeah, I mean.
you want me?
Yeah, sure.
Europe has more than enough power to deter or defeat Russia. Europe members have vastly more latent power than Russia, 4 times more people, their economies are 10 times larger. Even if we allow for higher cost duplication and efficiencies,
Yeah, that's like the countries are like geographically and have more people, like bigger, but where do you think
Their economies are stronger, their arms industries are more sophisticated. Like, I don't know what else goes.
Okay, we'll use less 42. Commitment trap, what countries are under the umbrella? Like what countries draw in the United States? This is for commitment
we
trap.
have mutual defense clauses, probably.
Okay.
What? But like, I think Barrows makes a separate argument that is not based on allies, which is that Trump would get trapped in stubborn refractory dynamics with adversarial leaders.
Yep. Okay.
It was done. 6, uniqueness, Europe, into trips.
Europe.
Yep. Buntin good, Katie good, we got Dartmouth healthy.
Yep.
Perfect. First of the Declaration, pick the United States are not nuclear governments first and need to complement the United States to clarify to members of the European Union that protect under the United States is the nuclear umbrella that competes and if you false quickly declared the CACA, if POD, the United States, opted out that if you false enacted legislation, can vote if you modify price power, modified declared policy state never use unlimited conditionalities justified by nuclear conditions, as rebalances the debate because of that. Starts ahead, next after the Russia pick, the United States should limit it to first use to Russia, it competes and solves the kind of picks out of Russia done. 20 Chinese immediately say the US and if you will support step the research China regarding switching to intentional or whether mutual and if you beat the best as better the process for Russia, US China mutual and if you would probably impacts on that open windows of China, think about nuclear weapons. 8 increase in first use credibility as Russia hinting. 7 critical Germany after the first use on the enemy director on the left direct command of increasing credibility of U.S. against. The state's point of the left off next. Officer assurance has had a strong breaks in causes pearl of color. 20 assurance score sharp and arrested kind of nuclear but supporting point of assurance and maintain national defense of nuclear adversaries nuclear assurance or credible defense so they keep building no ability news. Go to base upon the same agenda knowledge of your nowadays is interference in the series radio donation as like to make so from the entire city. The forces to determine fitted nature the direction of US over to have Dallas and ECL assured make strong which is the US makes committed to modernize increase regional planning and if you create the sugar concern of the US we need to make a share on the that is determined by community resolve Asian pearl coast nuclear symbol. Fortune made a second seeking news about in terms of risk and communication for preemption and new competition Pacific code common dress military option group war on the army city would increase message of the war states have to issue to protect the company of CEC technological and technical has a lot of the warning cause the side of determined events which are mistaken preemption next office the disability critique the one AC's anti-nuclear it cannot tie itself to metaphors to able to be administered 23 rounds of metaphors and able to during the 20th century madness of civilization and background intellectual the heart of base about the normal thinking performance of society and then will do the questions that teenage lord to see on the main symptoms of and the new policy US has the nation rain the possible nuclear destruction made no way so that nuclear represent a baseline for normal the emotion individual should have nuclear to nuclear destruction to national security state fell back on the able metaphors and as realism nationality to nuclear could be live on guard by bad men who carry national truly destruction metaphors accused every dealing with acronyms they need nuclear organization called saying what nuclear policy virtue that's mad that causes eugenics with thought 21 eugenics can against population but destroy the archetype journey is insidious ways of the major thing however disability question elimination policy they got even as an ungodly configuration reaching by peak maturation the solution is disability resurrection vaccines utilization sterilization social elimination and the complex control of the control space system of the lumps the hospital ward safe facility keeping all details present form change but function remain of the high paper and 3 chance of agreeable change from the structure tissue the liner paper warehouse generate populations the alternative is orientation toward disability justice fitters 20 disability technical protest worker the post-war military imperial violence and debilitation ability DGC on the emergency wars conflict on the conjugation for the actor other part of the war on the guys making sure to between all world wars and civil relations but particular proxy to favor 16 must be getting faster level disability justice already fighting the CMIC and navigating community safety the famous the system to be located sharpening the feeding and disability education centers of those most marginalized next off is the fiscal legislation kind of what the United States Congress should approve adopting nuclear fisheries policy on the condition of the Department of Defense ensuring interoperability transparency and allied defense and now for the threat of litigation to ensure compliance if the Department of Defense does not ensure interoperability transparency the United States Congress ought to initiate a lawsuit in federal judiciary challenging the sense of violation of the original mandate that competes via actors spills over and solves through fiscal legislation revitalizes the power of the person's social inflection to risk and turns case mode 18 EU.S. with the NATO, it's used over fiscal law, like Congress and other vital take up the referral to the aggression and authorization for fighting many issues over the packing NATO refugee rights and terror nationals over EU placing the lines in question carrying into just video cooperation leverage capabilities drafting operating maximum US influence in NATO fans by how approving NATO network and Congress and fuel and interoperability ensure dollars spent or effectively the Congress still has authority to shape policy although commanders have tools by security cooperation in Congress plus the preview accuracy of this system the tools how the Congress support addresses obstacles how operating facts are hybrid aggression call up US American liberal order to fight conflict between new powers and plus improve the NATO fans through fiscal laws fiscal checks spill over with the work excessive executive power step in 18 of the Congress that function best but it debates on the direction and core direction clash the executive action becomes like questionable and Congress in hand when it exercise legislative toolbox Congress and child president through appropriation sort of first should be in different directions of appropriation limited priority powers Congress and needs to participate in all the foreign policy that reinvigorates the terms credibility writ large batsmen 14 senior challenges included let's say proliferation to court other WD changing military rights and civil stage on the administration relying heat of forces equal regarding returning the rest of the Iranian Libya 10 years over aggression revert these same numbers get traceable regarding the research into credible signals of stronger attacks on force and the restrictive reliance on force and stronger attacks and merely selective policy that enhance threats to global security and funding is more significant than actually make war next off is the Concon counterplan at least 30 states 80 American states should convene a strictly limited constitutional convention that restricts the first use of nuclear forces against the first use of nuclear forces and a new counterplan text solves and avoids politics deal 16 fiction limited to the issue of the specific exercise states in the application to be constitutional the convention allows a lot of states to circumvent Congress the unique disadvantage in infusing credible evidence 19 major counter enforcement credibility the US preserving nuclear weapons for long as making arsenal of failure demonstrating during support on the credibility of the line movement of behavior that also would produce when wrapped on the Soviet Union's NFU with pledge of real effective diplomacy and interaction given the same US NFU and the turn Biden wins now litters dead wrong Rosenberg 4-3 Biden the defeat Trump the constant mistake since 22 and over I have the view about 2024 and then at the WSJ found Biden trailing Trump that's locker to overworrying but only is risky visible and only tells what things are today when things evolve we're asking fully to do too much we have all this up there for data that's available liberals agenda by Mr. Earl it are misleading the ad that Trump is underperforming in early primary states 30% of Republican coalition but not open to not supporting Trump but in a few swings in Trump 10 of Ohio model 5 Republicans but the deal makers are doing nuclear infrastructure officials will consider all changes policy such as the first use on future sizes 2 is soft resting foreign policy crips and custom switching power battling our states for RWS 3 was health and econ the 24 is different national security in the world makers really all featured on the guy coming election control as swing states the 38% of the state defense really extremely important in determining how they vote swing state voters so for increased spending on armed forces on the with heavy swing state involved name China as a third Russia second the majority of the US should go be a global force the only majority if the U.S. are being engaged in armed from the U.S. Helmet first borders open on the policy and national security with secret scrutiny on the far more state of 94. Use your zero margin of air Colton. 24 there is not. Rupert out of the victory over Trump was close and on the Wisconsin voter 1 by 20,000 vote Georgia and the 11th House and the Arizona defense are 80 Biden's ed and the state building Trump in the White House Biden communication that is on foreign policy reasonable is based that Trump 2.0 causes extinction fever. 24 Trump 2 1.0 less likely to restrain the Western impulses on the guardrails and the great reason Trump 2.0 we never changed the political climate abroad and the Trump will be acting in a far more disordered order. He's running for major hot wars in Europe, Mid East, Taiwan, SES, Iran, and Oak, and other countries to unruly world demand. Legion of German try will share the existing international libertarian territory with the German military action willing to conduct further strikes against Iran, return would result in extraordinary geopolitical instability, power vacuum turns, all their arguments like collapsing extended turrets in the future because Trump only wins because of the AFF. Now, the Europe advantage, they have it backwards. NATO's current pressure is the tripwire, enhanced deployments, activate Russian threat perceptions, and cause war drop. 20 Russian election. The list of build-up military forces that happening during the day before the performance in 2014 and threat on the Russian intelligence is considered the strongest and continue to be right response and holding territory. Nato battalions are incapable of doing either of them. The FE battalions will mean anything is a way they open the door for future deployments. They concern Moscow, then you were able to deploy forces and send the middle balance of trigger. Which on response, once a build-up starts, its viral drop. 20 of them NATO and Russian forces would be extremely vulnerable in the next 70 years. They can raise a confidence in the scout, and they will ultra whatever Congress said 2-1. Decides to try for a preemptive the percentage of being exposed because of the new legion playing over the one side to make the first move the allies have. They said to escalate rapidly, moving down to Russia. Actually, give a sir, and then the response of the fear with the downplay actions to avoid war. They said by early escalation, particularly causes OCO deployments or orbits. 20 West SP with a good impression of the reliable US ERT, so they find especially the United States closer Russia may be to make wars, and the New York conceivable the SP reconsidered as declining US reliability to allies of rest or conventional compensation. The allies are likely to call for aggressive capabilities to repel Russian aggression required huge investment in cyber and the terms of Russian causes reliability like damage. The Russian to restore the rest SP would reduce offensive ability cyberspace would need to be full edge rest of Moscow's for the perception would increase that causes cascading cyber war tension. 20 Russia proceed on the US influence in NATO as such one of the allies in action to control the direction of the whole US responsible and action initiated by allies figure the risk for traffic consequences of the technology to the destabilize IR government state escalation on the OCO threat. Small sector to reach out on the likely serious damage and could overturn black event lead down the escalation counter. Instructing its third parties OCO to as routine has been asked by the offensive on the bioprogram and then trigger escalation cyber war and the defensive push against civility states have been triggered a little special for using OCO no Baltics invasion of Rosaks. They 200 unit forces protecting the important edition of this is what the case of the Baltics out and the indigenous space enforcement for wants to deal with imagine the reason important enough to use military force authors been ready by Russia and the dog parts of the Baltics have little bit of concern over which favors to nuke war and then the version in total, with Putin's response to the country, the idea of Russia may want just let NATO there's not preventing Russian behavior, because of the threat, it is also easily possible the country will deepen cooperation is imaged by both it is implementation to consolidate data, the commitment traffic advantage, control studies, deny it, Spentana. 23, there's no different capable control the bigger cycle, who directly to suffer capacity to make a bigger nuclear back down, the police variables higher, who need to play unemployed nukes, and then a bigger simple nuclear threat if they do not, there was no association between preference for nuclear, so bigger or explicit threat in the public science to do explicit hand of nuclear, so regulars mentioned saying no rogue nuclear first strike here. 77% to take a half a pass order, alert national security team by effort by pass alarm sub order, some of the military not to follow order naively, and the alerts that multiple of give you confidence about question to ask before strike happened, the presumption is even stronger than OEI, because US and something take order depends on how these can lead difficult to persuade military back in protective scenarios with military autonomy, and use initiate use of planning, you always rather than never, they lead resistance ability control, populist are warmongers, just strategy, 21 and the market servers on the populist assumption, not populist that they allow that less compromising corporate yet researchers that populist government to not lead to more common populist parties that take a favor, and territorial defense, no rogue nuclear strike, we already read that. Back to the Europe advantage. The OCO's distinctions, Johnson, 22 on the weapon system, figures out that from the battle, military escalated situation on the fall. Premise saying even other warning system tanks were to hide the levels of and zero to be to make a pal, military security alerts and high alert this. Would be for what he's thinking is market inadvertent escalation. Market inadvertent escalation. Yep.
Status?
Conditional.
Okay, and then just checking you read the assurance set.
Yep.
Okay. The turn on the Europe advantage, what is it that, like, what countries cause the buildup that you said is bad?
I don't think it's countries that border the Baltics, deployments in Europe, generally conventional rearm.
Okay,
You have identified that like the AFF results in a quick conventional rearm to prevent a Baltics invasion by Russia. We have said that
your Horowitz card is like allies will demand U.S. assurances in the form of conventional compensation in cyber. Does that suggest that those assurances, like those troop deployments, would be the U.S.'s?
I think the first cards are about troops generally, is just a straight turn. So whatever conventional rearm happens in Europe as an AFF, we are saying that's bad for the Baltics.
Right,
we also think as a result of the AFF, we would ask European allies would ask for OCO deployment by the US.
So you just read our internal link about how...
Yeah, we have impact term the internal link about conventional rearm, and have also said that they demand OCO deployments, which is independently bad.
This is the net benefit to the Russian pick?
Yes. The straight term and yeah.
To which pick? Russia pick? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The NATO OCO's cyber war, what's the internal
The Johnson evidence and the card before are descriptive about how OCOs are perceived as like espionage attacks on nations like Russia. We think that those
So like
attacks
a
or
country
escalate
just
into a
cyber
spiral.
attacks Russia out of the blue or what?
Well, yeah, we think in a world where the U.S. has reneged, the like link card is pretty descriptive that like NATO allies would want to be engaged in OCO attacks as well as operations as a result to compensate.
The fiscal legislation counterplan, if the United States, so in the case that the DoD does not comply, would the plan occur?
Well, the DoD would comply, but no, we think that the lawsuit would be successful, so yes, the result of the lawsuit would be the restriction of first use support.
So is there a world under the counterplan in which the plan doesn't occur?
Well,
technically, but we'll read evidence in the block saying that
What do you
DoD
mean?
will say yes.
They're,
If
like,
yes or
Like
no?
if they say no, but we
Like,
If
have
they say
a lot more
no, we'll
evidence.
do the
than-
plan, and if they say yes, we'll do the plan. So
If they say no, we do not do the plan. If they say yes, then we do
wait,
the
but
plan.
I thought if the DoD says no, then the
We
Congress
initiate
would
the
sue.
Yeah, we initiate a
judiciary.
lawsuit, Congress sues. If we win the lawsuit.
Okay. The declaration pick is the clarification to the European Union private or public?
Private.
Okay.
Did you send that text in the card output?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. And
It's
then,
literally just the text in the doc minus Ron.
Yeah. I see. Okay. Yeah. 10.
What did you stop at?
852.
52?
Yep. That's it. Okay. It's the Command trap advantage. Europe advantage. Uniqueness / elections design. Russian pick. Secret counterplan. Con. Critique. Interoperability counterplan. Assurance.
You sent the 1 and C again.
Oh well.
I'm so confused.
Just doubles down, gets it back at us.
These are secretly all cards. actually, I'm going to take prep and do something annoying, which is that I'm going to make elections its own page and put it at the bottom. Because why? If you read the whole thing. Why is it there? Okay, that was 15 seconds. Okay, so 8.
I have 39.
30. Okay, 8:39. Great. Okay.
1 second, gotta download.
So is
Yeah,
elections
so I'm
now
resending.
all the way at the
Oh,
bottom?
you're resending?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So, commitment trap, Europe. I will then answer not credible. Russia pick, secret, con, disability, interoperability, assurance, elections.
Okay, let me make a new page as well then.
Yeah, I'll just.
And elections is on the very bottom.
Okay, cool.
Oh, sorry. Give me a second. It's loading. Okay, I'm good now.
What it's one is solely about public opinion. It doesn't assume Trump or the U.S. having a reputation or credibility on the line, which affects leaders' calculus. One and two, yes, we're striking insubordination from a nuclear strike is illegal. Ipso facto, it's also not about nuclear weapons, which the president has sole authority over. One and three, yes, popular support markers is the theoretical doesn't assume Trump he would get elected refractory, summer installation, and it makes sense because there are no checks for the second term. The Europe advantage one, EU rearm successfully deters. The alternative is nuclear only deterrence, which is a dice roll that escalates. That is the one you see impact evidence 2 euros, which now doesn't solve the case because Trump will drawn out and is dependent on the U.S. but it disproves their escalation internally. Monahan, 23, strength and ability is not significant measures included 300,000 troops and a new allied reaction force. EFP are now in places go. Canada double its conditional Latvia will go. Germany set up permanent brigade of 4,000 enhancements made to NATO say air and MD the posture. Estonia with Latvia, Lithuania signed a declaration of cooperation agreement to secure energy forces. 3 to troop presence and stabilizing and successfully deters Russia. Denny 21 periodic boots to the ground wall. Permanent presence statement. Poland sends one message to Putin only causes military presence of the Baltic states from Russia. Allies signaling Putin the solid American commitment to NATO. Small permanent presence of Lithuania with Polster. The security clearly indicate allies of Lithuania sovereignty is vital American interests while follow gaps in American defense capabilities better enabling interest respond to most likely attacks from Russia. March from Russia 4 conventional delivery deters escalation further 17 key factors make it unlikely that Russia would attack NATO remains originates the large transition capabilities Russia retains defensive capabilities particularly now nuclear deterrent which would advise that NATO would do aggression there. Unfortunately there is little evidence Russia's interested in a conflict marked in a conflict OCU shift argument 1 case all scientific on nuclear salience in Ukraine 2 it establishes the fire breaks in Russia 1 fear of first strike 3 fear of OCU is inevitable Putin already put nukes on alert because he thinks they're vulnerable. 2 it's 4 it's inevitable clear. 19 extensive US efforts to avoid cyber threats capacity systems are overstrikes including Russia for several years the defense has been exploring off the launch Russia can assume the spaces of the facilities are being pro 5 also NATO Wondergan and Montgomery 22 NATO cyber posture states were put in 16 for OCUs created the OCU Center to coordinate requests for states to push effects to the NATO the shift to incorporating OCU into strategy existing offensive effects of NATO members speak publicly about OCOs the Baltic defense 1 is old it says that Russia is conservative with force which is obviously disproven by Ukraine 2 it doesn't assume a weakened US and European presence credibility 1 it's irrelevant and if is not credible adversaries which zeroes their deterrence arguments because adversaries thinks that we can still first strike itself solves the case 1 commitment trap prevents us from responding to adversarial testing of commitments with a nuke that's what's 2 Europe communicates that we will not extend the nuclear umbrella anymore which is sufficient for rearm the Russia pick 1 any use case preserves commitment trap Russia will test our commitments because our conventional dominance is waning and it's not credible to say that we would nuke them that is would require us to start a nuclear war which is all the cards on the uniqueness page that they dropped and the France evidence especially because Trump will use discretion to start a war on purpose that's Perez 2 it doesn't solve Europe obviously 3 do the AFF or the fixed exception it would be incoherent but that's good because it preserves ambiguity in the case that one in there but a net benefit class Louis safety the policy we know first use the questions additional policies might see a president might adopt an incoherent policy reserve the right to use but we would never use a nuke it was just incoherent they wanted to have the cake and eat it too 4 do the counterpoint institutes and then if you Lawrence 23 and if you as all contributors agree say the single or easily pinned down concept trying as much will never be our first use as a position shift of leaders carving out exceptions most a card out without some exceptions. Discretion causes a use level of 23 conditional prohibitions less easily maintain them absolute conditionality grants violators power to determine whether their behavior is right. Conditionality versus the offensive is the behavior of isolating down over social weekend question whether the prohibition exists in the first place. Contrary to effective rules are more simplicity, clarity, absence of discretion makes the violation unambiguous. Simple conventions are better than complex nuance ones other and never expected sometimes that acquire symbolism. Seeker count of 1, do both the count of 1 press take controls, 2 to the count of 1, and if you can include a secrecy, 3 first use exceptions, invite the commitment trap, anything short of forswearing use, invites adversarial probing of nuclear commitments which forces the US to escalate or lays bare the non-credibility of deterrence, so it links to the net benefit. 4 folding the EU nuclear umbrella out is key to EU rearm. They link to any preservation of the umbrella's justification of free ride and not rearm. That's Walt and Nixon public and if you is key to that because we have to say it aloud for them to actually believe it by generating an audience cost. Gerson 10, the argument is when we dismiss the cheap dog and skeptics underestimate the international domestic audience cost group and if you like me and if you public the US would have its reputation of the commitment non-compliance would have unacceptably high political cost of violation could incentivize opposition rally against the violation. They generate attention internationally breaking a commitment there was the US reputation for honoring its commitments. It leaks in the benefit because it leaks the Harris law. 23 League of classified hundreds of classified intel documents slash officials asking how did this happen again? Where did it happen again? The NEG gets to fiat policy change and definitely sustained in national deficits and differences made from literature proposing reform. Con 1, do both the Fed policy states. 2, to the counterplay must compete by text and function. Anything else justifies spending less and process back costs of the expense of both offense and in-depth nuclear strategy debates. 2, 3, perm, the US should do the counterplay. It solves that because it has all the states call for it. 4, limited concon is illegit. It's not in the lid. It sales best half deficits and shifts debates and process. NEG gets unlimited concon. 5, delay. It takes forever. It shows commitment trap in the interim. Huckabee 97 10,980 proposals been introduced to the average ratification that was 1 year and 8 months. 7, foreign policy certainty demands political stability. You can get concon over nuclear weapons looks bananas, which means that it's not which means that nobody believes that and it doesn't solve the Europe advantage. Conditionality of the its cost contradictory options. The proliferation of no cost option drives sanctuary the expense of in-depth deterrence and assurance means this will let's do easy but a shot let's swap you can kick away perm new after good they could encourage critical thinking on the fly but not neg terrorism. The critique 1, evaluating unique consequences of affirmative advocacy justifications are limitless. They can inform whether the plan is good, but evaluating only justifications, obvious core AFF offense involves into link you lose and picks that makes clash and idea testing or fairness impossible. 2, no link that when they see decentralized on metaphors of presidential insanity or worse as the word pick goes about they held the after standard of perfection. Offense defense makes the winning proactive winning a proactive justification of awful. 3, language policing trades off of material solution should be 11, it's common to be savvy language to avoid ableism and have written attitudes and actions. Language policing distractions from the core of the issues. All you have to do is pick out a word and distance to the person self-satisfied that we're done to picking out a from having practical hearing things and some language while patting ourselves in the back. 4, curve contours, no subjectivity, offense or indirect impacts. 3, other links for scholarly understandings of rationality, not the discourse fact of saying it aloud. 5, do both reframe and if you use a process of disability justice. 7, there 6, the court says the commitment to disability justice causes disarm. That's battle again. 15, complete disarm and distinguish difficult to identify an alternative nuclear deterrence. Deterrence has worked. MAD, provide a sound basis for limiting confrontation, avoiding nuclear deterrent, even nations experience your innovations against our conflict conventional arms, will likely be unstoppable. Marked unstoppable interoperability counterplan. 1, to the AFF and interoperability. It's not textually intrinsic, most logical and test tremendous of internal benefit. 2, to the counterplan. Competition was on the other page. 3, ally defense is bad and causes commitment trap. 4, is say no. College 1, condition something the DoD does not want on something that takes extra work for them, so it is a lose-lose bargain. 5, to the AFF, the counterplan of nuclear policy. 6, certainty is key to Europe. Unconditionally signaling to Europe, we will not defend them, wakes them up, and successfully drives Europe, otherwise they foot drag and free ride. That's Walt and Nixon. 7, the counterplan delays now is key for Europe rearming before Trump shreds and NATO presents a window of opportunity for Russia to exploit. That's Toshi NY at 11.5 is too late. Hasburg 24 without over reputation to Europe will continue to build alongside armies, so where Russia will be steadily pushing forward. It's time to lay the groundwork. Tuesday, November 5th will be too late. The caused by the instability of foreign policy certainty thing I said on the other page. For number 8, number 9, do both. It does the process of the plan no matter what, which solves down from the benefit. 10, no spill over the counterplan doesn't cause more executive restrictions in unrelated areas given their unionist argument. 11, Congress can't reclaim foreign policy power. Go Geyer 8, 4, declining foreign policy expertise and increasing polarization restricting the ability of legislators to supervise the executive losing willingness and capacity for presidents. Congress is in no shape to reclaim its role in foreign policy. Marked 10, foreign policy. 12, don't impact drone tricks and interventions are bad, but don't escalate. Assurance is sad. 1, Trump though. The second term will be would unleash total isolationism and blow up alliances. That's bonding cake in the long term, hauling out of public support for global engagement. Ensures alliance that's a collapse. That's pre-bull makes pro notable blank. 24 perception company in America not defend allies. Will accelerate global efforts to obtain news. They able to display that the alliance are will incredible will trigger an explosion of interest in South Korea, Japan sentiment. Or the existence of racist party like they also have guarantees of operating in the Middle East. 2, nuclear assurance is not credible. Allies know we wouldn't trade New York for Tokyo. That's brands of wall. 3, conventional assurance unsustainable globally overstretched military using all tech and running on vulnerable supply chains will collapse. In the short term, we would run out of PGMs in 3 days in a Pacific contingency. That's Wimsatt 4 there that produces increased adversarial testing, which is the commitment trap. Impact 5, ambiguity is not an answer. Allies will see a changing balance of power, get anxious and demand more explicit commitment. 6, no downside signature pro Kelly. 22, South Korea and Japan is democracies will the Russia capacities, low energy. Programs that will be responsible for defense, but has no one seriously blue star to give over check out set up a Yukon, put over exception in charge, even though Pakistan and India have been the Pentagon suggested democracies would be good steward. There is no Luke cascade because it has already occurred, but it's stabilizing. Smith 24 developed nuclear weapons as the rise of market, the shuffling of the US beam in the U.S. is no longer reliable nuclear security guarantee for Japan and South Korea. Japan and South Korea getting nukes will draw hard boundaries. She cannot pass Japanese South Korean nukes would freeze the Cold War, freeze Cold War II, stopping it into World War III. Elections is at 1. Trump wins A, leading in 6 of 7 swing states. Voters perceive Biden as unfit and disapprove of presidency. B, structural advantages. The GOP is unified. Dems are fractured. C, Biden has incumbent disadvantage. Afghanistan, Ukraine, Israel, and inflation all like his fault, which all thumped their link argument. D, Dems underperform polls, so you should trust them. We got War 327 in 2016, 2020. Dems underperformed. The Electoral College is built an advantage for Joe Biden. 1.7 million this week on the Electoral College. Victory 2, no link voters like nuclear shame backyard. 23 Central Foreign Policy question. We be a hog out of the lattice while voice champion or straight or capture the array of supporters seeing this feeling of holding around the favorability then Biden and Trump have Republicans are to say the U.S. provides too much change. Trump is becoming conservatives and libs are no longer able to ignore unchecked militarism or number of voters here for military restraint. 3, so the plans off Trump first use 4 other impacts for fake global causes and Biden can't solve them and their impacts are notable because of we vote Trump imitators. That's 3 5. It's not a foreign policy election or Gaza thumbs if that is the most salient saunders. 23 foreign policy being measured in the 2024 and likely voters won't pay much attention to details they know policy knowledge from cooperative elections. Study politicians can mitigate the damage of unpopular policies and let the issue fade. Voters adjust their policy views after they've chosen their candidate.
You good?
Yeah, that card is marked it. Chosen their candidate.
Cool. Reasons direct to theme was just attitudinal fiat and condo?
Yeah.
Great. The election...
Sorry, like inaction fiat.
Inaction fiat, but like the secret kind of fun stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah, great. The elections dissent, the back-to-your evidence is like, Republicans favor Robert Kennedy because he is like not aggressive on nukes. Why is this indicative of like all voters who are going to actually vote for Biden now or not vote for Biden?
Because if foreign policy is sufficient to decide the election, then Republican voters will
Well,
decide to
no,
vote for
this
Biden
is like
on the basis
very,
of
very
foreign policy.
specific to like Robert Kennedy's supporters and voters. I'm confused why this is indicative of the feelings
It
or
sure is
representative
not. This
of
card
other
is from the primaries, which this person is saying all of the Republicans are being hawks, and that is the wrong strategy because it will alienate voters who like restrained foreign policy. So the plan gets Republican voters on Biden's side.
Okay, the Kapoor evidence,
Or at least does not alienate them.
polls. What card have you read that like polls are an accurate metric of the election? 2016 said Hillary was going to win by a landslide and Trump won. Confused why polls.
Yes, in 2016 and 2020, when Trump was on the ballot, Democrats did worse than the polls said that they would. Therefore, if polls are saying that Trump will win now, Trump will certainly win.
But
That is what this
I guess
card is.
why does Dems were wrong on polls mean that Trump being good on polls mean he wins? Like what warrant
Because
there
this card is like
indicated that polls are only accurate about Trump, but not about
admittedly,
Dems?
the ununderlined portion says, or the unhighlighted portion says that
Oh,
Democrats
wow, okay.
historically overperform polls. However, in the 2 elections when Trump has been on the ballot, they have underperformed. Therefore, if polls are bad for Democrats, that is worse for your uniqueness argument.
Okay, the voters, not a foreign policy election. How is this relevant when like the U.S. makes a massive change in its nuclear posture and policy for instance?
How is your no-link argument relevant when link? We think our no-link argument is true.
Okay.
Because other things matter more. For example, inflation. Trump might go to jail. Biden is old as shit. Most people, like, if you go out on the street of Emory University and ask people about what they think about a nuclear no first use policy, they'd be like, get out of my face.
Okay.
Who cares?
The Europe advantage, OCO shift.
Yep.
What operations is the U.S. inevitably doing now?
Clear evidence says that the U.S. is trying to hack other countries' NC30.
Hack other countries in securities. Which countries? What are these operations looking like?
Russia. Well, I highlighted Russia because that's the thing that's relevant.
Well, yeah,
It
sure.
also says China and North Korea.
Okay.
What do they look like?
What do these operations look like?
That's a Tyler Virgo question, man. I'm not a hacker.
That's a Tyler Virgo question.
No. But like, this card says
Like,
that the like national security establishment is committed to OCOs in the form of nuclear NC3 hacks.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. Is that fine? We need to just have if not, you need to figure out how to
Do you think you read a card or made an argument that the AFF solves Asian pro-lift or just that it's good? Like,
just
Trump felt it's
that-
inevitable, do you think the AFF?
Well, we didn't say it's good, so I probably don't want to say
Okay, I
it's
want to
good.
make sure that we, yeah, just want to make sure before I like.
Yeah. read the Frederick card on the Europe Advantage, correct?
Think so. Is that the second deterrence card?
Yeah.
Yeah. I marked it though.
Where at?
One sec. I'll just copy.
I have it like right in front of you. If you can just tell me like the word.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to fuck with you.
You're okay.
There is currently little evidence Russia is interested in such a conflict.
Dope. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. 533.
I have something on my clipboard that I need to paste, so we'll put that down.
Okay. It's same.
Okay, 5 seconds.
Six.
So 8:34, and you stopped at 5:33?
Yeah, 533. Jason, you write that down. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm about to. 533.
I also have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really bad at remembering, and it's really good every time. Okay. Different order. The secret counterplan, or like the declaratory pick. The Russia pick. The con counterplan. The process counterplan. The commitment traps advantage. The Europe advantage. Okay, Buntin's good. Everyone else good?
I need a second.
Alright, yeah, just let me know. You good now? Alright, sit. The counterplan solves the entirety of the uniqueness sheet, and the first advantage we will kick the second plank that solves for the Europe advantage because we are straight turning. It has the US nuclear officials covertly decide that using nukes first would not be in our best interest. Card 0 and the 1AC differentiates either the uniqueness sheet or the advantage to just from a United States first strike or United States commitment causing a United States first strike scenario, which means you should presume on the side of the counterplan solving everything. We will kick the plank about Australia and Europe, which means their deficits about it do not matter or apply because we have straight turned it and they have read impact defense to themselves in the 2AC. Judge counterplanes using a frame of sufficiency. The counterplane is not need to be better than the plane, but just marginally better than the status quo, as the impacts of the disad and the straight turn outweigh the AFF. Our first argument is permutation, both links to that benefit. The first is the election sheet announcement. In diplomacy, show the public and warhawks that we are bowing down to the rise of other nations, that we are soft on defense and soft on the defense industrial base per the one in our link debate that is about to happen. The second is the Europe disarm stuff. We do not let European allies proliferate or do not let European allies require a force surge because they do not know that we will not first strike in the scenario of the counterplane. They still think that it would happen, which means that they do not require any of the OCOs, which we have won will happen via the link debate. The next argument is permutation to the counterplane. It severs and test the necessity. The permutation to the counterplane severs and test the necessity of positive state fiat to restrict nuclear forces in the adoption of a policy. The counterplane is exclusively negative state action. 1. Adopt to establish an official policy. Merriam-Webster noted 2. Establish a law in an official way. 2 is NFE policy. It was in the 1NC and dropped, which means you should not let them have a new competition arguments in the 1AR. It is either legislation or an executive order modifies the president's power and is a declaratory statement. That's the CACP evidence. You should prefer they are a non-profit policy analyst group dedicated to clarifying policy. 3 is policy. It is a deliberate course of action and not a single decision. Facula. And 11, the word policy cannot be stretched to mean an individual decision. Policy means a principle of course action. Course of action is a polluted next, but in the deliberate process which by governments formulate the policy. It must be understood as breaking a principle to understand how a deal or occurrences whenever it occurs. Fiat must be public, positive, and policy. 1 is AFF guarantees deficits based on durability, clarity, signaling, and the positive state action, which is low-hanging fruit there. They're low-hanging fruit there. Their deficits on the third advantage mean that it is not an unbeatable counterplay, and they should just not read impact defense themselves. Second is NEG ground is key to assurance, deterrence, and perception links, or else secret apps ruin the topic. It's the reason why Georgetown was only able to read it once. Third is precision. Our evidence is expert consensus, has the intent to define, and is defining the resolution. And four is defense. AFF needs a positive key warrant, which is a predictable form of fiat, and this is the only counterplan that makes it compete. The next argument were the two deficits, or the next argument was with analytical argument about first use, a link to commitment traps. Their argument says that exceptions in a first use policy mean that we will fall for commitment traps, but our counterplan is not an exception in first use policy. We will never use first, which means we will never use first in the instance of a commitment trap. This argument is nonsensical. The next are 2AC 4 and 5, which are both deficits to Europe advantage. We will concede them because we are kicking the plank and straight turning the advantage. The final, the second to last argument was leaks. They marked the Harry's card before it said anything, but it's not about nukes and it's not an argument to see Harry's at all. And 23 is about the war in Ukraine and U.S. spying on allies, which means the nuclear posture of the United States military officials will not be leaked because they're not about military document, but rather 3 or 4 or 5 people who actually have the nuclear codes deciding that we will not use first in any conflict. The final argument was theory. Negative state action is good. One, predictability and ground. It tests essential part of the resolution that restricting forces and adopting an NFU is desirable. The AFF gets away any positive fiat good or signaling advantage against it. To them too. They want to see relies on attitudinal shifts insofar as at some point Warhawks have to flip their decision-making calculus to justify an NFU. 3, this round. The counterplan gets hosed in any other debate or any debate where they have an advantage based off any form of signaling, which gives us a leg into the game against small U.S. first strike NFU AFF. Reject the argument, not the team. It's not object fiat nor utopian. The actor is not nuclear forces, and we do not fiat world peace. Next, the con counterplan. Or I guess the rush pick. Sorry, that was in the order. Concede the permutation just to test the competition. No offense. We're not going for a con. Concede the permutation just to test the competition. We're not going for it. Conditionality is good. 1 neg flex, multiple levels, multiple angles, level the playing field. The neg is always reaction and choice. Infinite prep, new clarification. 2, innovation. 2, service adverse, fallback, law, safety, and testing. 3, critical thinking, forces efficient, creative, and tactical. 2 is 4, logic, finds the best policy option, disproving advocacy, so they make the playing good. Skew is inevitable from speed, highlighting topicality, but 2 in our consolidation solves this. Positionality is bad. 2 is constrained to block creative research and balance and make the process unbeatable. The 1AC was completely new except for 2 cards, which means we should have infinite conditionality to respond to it. The process counterplay. Concede permutation to both not going for all the theoretical research team were answered on the first counterplan, crisis commitment traps. There is no trap under moral hazard alliances, reduce commitments directly, and fixing the result of the so we're strongly supported frequently action in the theory over 62 years. I finally 5 episodes of entanglement in these cases are far so to clear allies, restricting the United States, the U.S. is deterred adversaries, the U.S. is training allies for sides of other commitments, they re-engage in restricting an ally or both it will relate to the conflict case for entanglement is methodological errors that ignoring these instances with alliance with the U.S. in conflict and failure, exaggerations of entanglement allies, and sidesteps track Beckley, and 15 states sidestep of commitment allies showing minimizing support each year, and providing air support but not for ground for surviving allies for the U.S. sidestepping is feasible. U.S. will disassociate this ally conflicts. U.S. is unable to occur, and is a way to loyalty allies on depends on use projection for their survival. And framing for the argument is that none of their cards are about nuclear commitment traps, but conventional commitment traps would be just as bad and would draw the United States into a war, which would increase other countries to use first. Their studies are not audience costs or backing down to an ambiguous nuclear test meta, and 20 are satisfied no evidence of the commitment trap that the leader did not pay an audience cost whenever he backed down from using it to the U.S. public. Not see that as binding an ambiguous nuclear test of the constitution strategy. They can resort to non-use without being abundant and inconsistent outside the domestic continuity. Europe advantage. Functionally dropping an impact scenario. The first 2 arguments about the Euro surge, not our scenario, but they do disprove that theirs. NATO OCOs cause extinction. That's the Johnson evidence. Spoofing is indistinguishable from a nuke which causes Russian user illusion pressures and leads to disarming first strike extinction. They read the war card for a cyber attack, calls false positive pre-degradation, but escalate action. And so they simply that an opponent has cyber false positive produce false warning and can make strikes today. Or consider what forces might interpret ambiguous indicators as worse. Oversight concerning actions, the links because the presentation should be hacked, states out of pre-delegate authority communications fails, and because the state confers attack delegation increases the authorities used to it, and surveillance offset even if candidate cannot get for defense was opposed to just because it usually demos limitations state, and fears of attacks on the fears were imminent. Next card they read is the Frederick card, said that there is no Russia invasion of NATO allies, which is the Baltics. Newsflash, you read impact defense to yourself. I made it yellow, but it was all words that they said. 2AC4 or the 2AC1 and 2 on the specific thing were case solved. No, it does not, because pre-delegation happens. They have conceded the uniqueness claim. 2AC3 was that fear inevitable. It increases because the uniqueness cards I'm about to read. NATO capabilities in the Baltics are status quo Goldilocks. 1 capabilities current. 4 deployment cannot respond to whole territory, but deters Russia from invasion, which is their evidence. 2nd vulnerability. Status quo forces are not approximate to Russian border because they are all OCOs. NATO's avoiding OCOs now. Stevens and 22 changes 4 and 5. NATO should be the forefront of accessibility in terms of cyber defense. NATO capability, conservative bolsters alliance. NATO does not undertake any cyber operations outside of the defense states and transatlantic cyber operations ships are strictly defensive now. Lewis and 19 NATO excluded stated on exceed OCOs and a NATO flaggable and a good officer cyber fellow allies at NATO cyber space operations of a NATO and the cyberspace NATO and seeks to strengthen cyberspace defense. So per our evidence is specific to NATO and it is 5 years newer than theirs. The next argument is that there's no NATO impact. They won't do it. NATO OCOs are unique entrapment risks. Jensen and 23 NATO OCOs can constitute entrapment risks. OCOs can create other crisis understanding from management of crisis. OCOs can deliver strategic effects, including the escalation they are equally easily to provide an unlimited range of complex delivery system Jace. A threshold for using OCOs loaded conventional means acquisition can be clandestine by the US or support this operation for distance to the seamless likely an OCO also means that this turns the entrapment scenario because it will force the US NATO offensive OCOs. They will allies will recognize with reckless capability structure and 20 expeditions during a great power was that the rest of small states that because they deliver and understand and accountability the US may not initiate an escalation level maybe pulled it through one another because it will then NATO divide as inclusive to Russia for review and it resolved into the cities of global they conducted the reckless driving and multiple world nations are likely to diverge. Mark the card at diverge. There's a low chance of a Baltic impact. They read the impact defense for us that Russia is scared because we have nuclear and conventional nuclear conventional capabilities that are stronger than theirs and they would not want to trigger NATO Article 5 but invasion is possible. Rostock in 18 when Russia uses force that has been diverged like important nations under this as the case with Baltic such an incident stage Russia's foreign policy is difficult to imagine a region that is important enough for military use. Authors are writing about Russia are quite concerned that the Baltics have little reason to be concerned that they have no interest in risking nuclear war and the sphere of Russian controls where Putin aspires it and persuade these countries the idea that rather than Russia is wanting to dissuade NATO it does not seem convincing aggressive behavior increases the threat as it equally likely the countries will deepen their quality aggressive and to diminish by discipline and to consolidate NATO and if they do invade it won't go nuclear people and 19 the probability if they have uses low to be irrational to execute a nuclear strike even as last resort is hard to believe that Russia has any attempt to motivate using nukes because and all the share of the population of Baltics are now Russian speaking territorial proximity as well as Russia's ambition for legitimate annexation comes into play. The argument applies to NATO because it would raise the question of morality whether the positive outcomes out of having the limited it may be and Russia would not just invade a NATO ally. That's absurd. Karthikeyan and 19 Russians no experience waging war against an adversary that compare military positions to all outright siege or territory would predominantly destroy the population we see easily move by Moscow not New York and not bring an economic and geopolitical benefits but would it make entail many difficulties. Krakamachelin entail many difficulties. I'm good.
Okay. Yeah.
Nope.
I'm good. A good song.
Oh, yeah.
I just seem to like that.
Okay. That was 37 seconds, so 7:56. Okay, you good?
Yep.
Cool. The counterpoint does not do anything, right? It just fiats indefinitely not doing something.
Correct.
Okay,
It will
so
not ever
it does
do
not like secretly declare an NFU internally.
Well, it's just like U.S. like top military nuclear people. I don't know who specifically those are. Just like have a talk. They're like we should never use a nuclear weapon.
Oh,
personnel.
so it does fiat like a conference where they decide to.
Well, I don't think it needs to be a conference because there's like 4 or 5 people who have like
Okay, I'm just
views
asking,
of
like,
using a nuclear weapon. They just all decide that we should not use a nuclear weapon. They
Okay,
talk about
so
it.
there is a proactive decision made in a convening of. It's not just like
It is
the
like
president never into the future just decides to use
the
nuclear
people.
weapons, right?
Well, like we attitudinally fiat that weapons will never be used first. If that's the question. Like Trump cannot reverse it.
Sure. Okay, fine. Frederick evidence on the case
Yeah.
is like obviously a little bit nitpicky, but this says key factors that make it unlikely are that NATO retains a large edge in overall conventional capabilities, and NATO in the U.S. in particular would respond militarily to incursion in the Baltics. Why is that not our uniqueness?
It's not your uniqueness argument because the conclusion of that statement is that would deter Russia from
Yeah,
ever
but we
invading.
said that shit is going to go away now, so we need the plan via EU rearmament to solve.
Well, the Beckley evidence or the Frederick evidence also says that like nuclear weapons there would be trigger Article 5 and that there's low cost. Like Russia has high
It does not say
military
nuclear
costs.
weapons. It just says Russia maintains its nuclear deterrent. It does not talk about U.S. or NATO
Well,
nuclear
yeah,
weapons.
but-
It's just about NATO conventional capability.
Yeah,
which we
insofar
said is
as, like,
eroding now.
What?
Which we said is eroding now. Why is this a neg?
Well, you've read evidence saying that it is sufficient in this, or like I guess whenever the Frederick wrote the article, but we think that like is sufficient defense to AFF that like sufficient for America.
Does the 2NC contain any other defense to the claim that conventional presence deters Russian invasion of the Baltics?
any defense to the claim. Can you restate that? I'm confused.
Does the 2NC have anything else to say about our internal link, which is conventional presence deters invasion of the Baltics? I think the answer is no.
Well, the Rothschild evidence is about conventional evidence, or like conventional deterrence and the status quo working. We've read other cards saying that nuclear deterrence.
Oh, sure, just like the Baltics invasion defense.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
But like our internal link to the straight turns to the internal link is not conventional presence. It is that NATO would require OCOs from the United States.
Okay. In terms of like spoofing and like Putin gets scared because his nukes get hacked, do you think that there's a difference between NATO doing that and the US doing that?
Yes.
What is it?
Well, because NATO is not cohesively doing it in the status quo.
Well, right, but like anyone hacking Russian nukes would cause.
Well, the difference is that we've read evidence from 2023 saying that NATO is not doing it. We've read evidence from 2019, which is still newer than your evidence saying the United States
somebody hacks Russia's nukes and that causes extinction.
Well, I guess the reason that NATO is scarier than just the United States on its own is because it is cohesive and it is larger. But we've read evidence, 2 pieces more recent than your evidence, saying that there are not OCOs happening right now; that they are only defensive.
Okay.
Since K, Proliftis Act, the fiscal legislation process counter plan, the elections decision.
Did I forget theory?
No, I just kicked you. Did you kick it?
I did.
Oh, never mind. Exclude the fiscal part of the legislation counter plan.
Sorry, I was not paying attention at all. What's up?
Critique prolif elections.
Gotcha. And I need a sec to pull up.
Yes.
Your Gmail picture moves.
Oh yeah.
I feel so old.
Well, actually, that's been a feature since like 2015.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, never mind. It's mesmerizing.
I typed in like cool GIF in like 2015 to Google, took the first option, and my profile picture since.
They have entire TV shows that are animated like that.
Okay.
Holy shit, you really did Google cool shit.
I really did. That's the only reason that my profile picture.
Got it. Okay, I'm good whenever.
Okay. You're good. Perfect. Concede the permutation tested competition not going for only offensive to the alternative. We're not extending it the prolif this I concede it's inevitable. Not get a straight to because they've only have prolif good it's inevitable and probably stabilizes things already. The elections is that Trump 2.0 election national great power wars with national foreign policy and bold as adversaries undermines alliances and rebels across regions through the economy making war and inevitable outweighs and magnitude to be a scale of conflict Trump's the F10 to 1 ensures global nuclear use feverless a bunch of Maxwell extended for you here first. No goes nuclear draws and China hacking. You're 70 nuclear conflict no be dangerous and nothing about the radiation on the dangers against the nuclear winter darkest lies something close climate like conflict extra conflict failures something that's happening tomorrow. Link after traffic and catastrophe how the trade between the US and China trade collapse cost extinction Oppenheimer you talk about the very events how the attack failures of the part of future but a sharp forces impacting capacity nuclear power to settle inevitable shocks the conflict reducing increasing polarization and conflict weak institution and norms and reducing capacity to control warming of the tech change global and prolif escalate treated against the world in globalization of the world of the summer completely sustainable swap with the retrenchment of the political facts of the image you get from the social logistics to the conflict with trade wars lead to World War III economic the construction and aggression of running trade wars by reducing independent things against the evil and the determinable of scare here in the 1914 there are too many hotspots in Korea. As yes, one of the Kindle seems right. They don't get new impact turns of the 1 ER just defense because they were all in the card of the 1 and C, and there turns the AFF first. Trump running and winning the election. The plan is bad. Means no one believes it. Miller, 20 admin workers who changes in U.S. nuclear policy and the sustainable bipartisan against the behind. Such a simple as the nature consensus of JT says there is likely to be a successful administration overturning practices policy on the U.S. credit and the allies never so tiny truck and they allow this occur in the nuclear begin the future of the world as a stake. Second, miscalc is more likely under Trump due to erratic and unpredictable foreign policy. Third, Biden wouldn't use a nuke, but Trump would. Undermining perception of the AFF. 24 action of the orders are only constructed with always whether they get challenges or full self aggressive like a bunch of very simple somebody with commander chief is over the over the show Ukraine China Taiwan pizza the threat to nuclear greatest factor to the Holocaust and said I should counter threats of the Trump the threat to unleash fire Imperium the field of China North Korea or Russia the video solution for how to be saying on the state down after you started in 2026 or refuse extinction by today Biden would pursue nuclear target destroy Russian talks conflict discovery to supposed to test Joe Biden and leadership the most important factor that determines whether the rest of nuclear war will fight or fall. 4 turns the entire AFF all of it is reliant on winning the ethical collapse of usage terms because of Trump. If we win that Trump doesn't win now but the AFF causes the disagreements that all their impacts are inevitable to AC1 can't just assert a unique claim by dropping 1 and C evidence that it directly indicts and postdates all of their claims. Biden wins now. The most predicted metric is early primaries and special elections. Biden's outperforming polls in those races. That's Rosenberg referred A empirical record prediction category. 4-3 Rosenberg was our of congressional election 22 on the election was in polls. We have had one tree. First of all, he was correct. B, actual voting on which polling will get. 25 November, there was square of actual election. They never affected November research and encouraging across the country to request winning special election. We're underperforming election polls. So vote, people vote, people have been voting. Damn, Trump's underperforming polling in all recent election samples. 3 times overstated by polls on the road and behavior has not matched production, including Trump that during this year's primary round of the election. Trump has fallen short of what polls projected to the voters who will play. Not type role in November. One new metric found over on organizing peoples. 327 they could decide election. Biden is confronting political news about say Trump's been slow to the disparity. With Biden to start about an open opposite of that staffers. Early organizing his vital proofs now is T. Mulligan. Turn around in North Carolina is getting with Georgia prior to the blue wall states. I'm not exactly that. I'm the final pick up with Carolina. He win. I'm the fact that early Imperial State. I'm the Georgia and North Carolina are without the extremely competitive early investment makes a difference. Polls are wrong in a snapshot. That's Rosenberg. Other structural factors are in the direction of Biden, not Trump. Then factors are backwards. That was above, which unites all of their cars. News polling post shades it shows that Biden is the head plumber. 3-4 new poll. It shows Biden fully double the leader from the Trump and the social swing state. On the 38 to 38 in Pennsylvania is key. Only twice the president can enable win without Pennsylvania and the Washington over. At least be polling out of so. The fact that Russia was the news only gives some comfort to Biden. Any other arguments are priced in by our evidence and company disadvantage. It's irrelevant given constructional factors swinging voters away from Trump. 2AC2 plan loses Biden the election. Not being NFU gets attacked this soft in defense. A key thing that Biden needs to counter to win re-election among other contrary fundamentals such as RWS and link. Threshold is extremely low. Biden will barely win now. Small changes to swing states. You have the whole electoral map that's called and said he loses his base, you get a disillusioned by the app and don't vote. Most of the evidence is assumptive of voters swinging in mass to Trump. That's on our link argument. He only needs to win a few thousand voters who are tuned in and care about nuclear foreign policy now to lose the election. The plan would get attacked to CBD national order and adversaries lister. 21 my combination can't founder. I'm the limitation around the center of powers of the Russian China, North Korea, where they like the real life. Political rest of Hawks are going to control over South China. North political technology, topic, anti-state about it. Could the fire control. Dukes are central and so Sione. 22 they see nuclear storage necessary, they see nuclear protection, we get succession, they report little merit nuclear reform, directed by those who use security as a way of being weak. I'm the business and fear on the whole voter coming forward. Is liable to give nuclear companies a alarm or lobbyist companies in Russia, but flooded Washington with things and grants immunity to criticism. Voters do care. Her concern 23 to 28 voters call Corona. This is the biggest unemployment now. Consider 24 as alternative fears on my nuclear weapons. The plan makes Dukes a central issue, was undermined safety threat distracted from more salient issues. Corona 20 people care about Dukes of I. Treating Dukes as a single issue, Trump others like climate health. Education, please. Voters do not like restrained freedom. 23 on the play research on leadership. Opinion that is in the role in the 2024 role play. The picture wasn't just how much of this. I don't say relationship between pro and presidential voting voters thing. They make sure that that personal trait because the Vatican is seen strong and vigorously promote U.S. interest voters or more. Then 3 times less likely to vote for based on beliefs of other person is strong and voters lighter. The strength is connected to praise of the candidates. I have to show that the 2AC3 does not. It's irrelevant internal leakers, but it's still produced by Trump and make sure the results and adversaries are active racking environment. I.e. North Korean strikes, second conventional strikes are on the table. Trump reviews that ensures their escalation due to the war. 2AC4 is wrong. Trading LIO collapse is true. They'll restart the trade war with China, cut off allies, and autocratic policy to fracture the U.S. into signal of the level order 2AC5. Yes, the FAC, the issue central to voters because it's made this massive shift in nuclear posture. Foreign policy is critical in the margins. Voters are going to fight it. As most important, Biden needs to see that needs to take control of the margins as Collins and RWS. This year is different. Hannah, 12 next 3 years, I'm election. I'm the different leader. Crises. I'm making focus attention on the defensive voters. American leaders, my experience are economic election. Voters have doubled since 2022. Forza 24 American was a top issue. I'm the offensive press. The issue they had 24 the same unpopular foreign policy costing the election. 23 election research and psychology is a lot of education and effects on the proven still using military force and public policy harm. Election change the voters are more likely to vote introduce a policy they like election hacking military using tactics bigger connects to open election. It is a foreign policy election. Western 24 American people voting South focus and 24 I'm the new polls starting national concerns 1 and 4 and 10 and 8 and 4 polling in importance among 40% of R and 34 of D.
Okay. 756.
commitment traps, secret counter plan, elections.
Was there a doc? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was.
Okay, I completely forgot. I didn't have it downloaded.
Okay, let me know when you're ready. Good? Everyone?
Yep.
Cool. They have dropped the U.S. hegemony is unsustainable. The DMZ is underperforming. They're spread thin by answering Ukraine and China. That matters. They have dropped the U.S. will withdraw troops in the long term, and NATO will collapse. That poses a huge risk of Russian invasion because Article 5 is eviscerated, and also if U.S. collapses inevitable, Europe will adopt OCS inevitable. There's no link to NFU. The Europe advantage, the Europe advantage now conventional troops do deter NATO, but it's collapsing now. The Frederick evidence story about the back and forth, but this court is certainly affirmative. Frederick 17 key factors. Big hell the Russian attack on Germany. NATO will simply do over conventional people's actions will the United States in particular will military Russian haven't had a sense of military cost corresponding to NATO cost level cost versus has no precedence and the prior Russian behavior that proves that AFF uniqueness means that Russia will not invade post affirmative because of Europe rearm because their decisions hinge on conventional capabilities. Now the unconventional capabilities, but there's no now the cyber offense. There's no cyber offense. There's no OCOs are inevitable. NDA is doing cyber now. Demers the 23 NDA is with the EW and cyber blue budget 146 million and testing for system tactical into missile defenses and NATO is embracing the strategic shift to OCO now. Will American and Montgomery 22 NATO support strategies 1.6 for greatest CYO center to coordinate for states to provide for effects and to incorporate OCO into strategy the integrated offensive and governments. Speaking public about OCO, I'm not reaching consensus with the role of SC OCO's odds and more transparent about OCOs. The Brussels summit proves Valkyrie 22 at Brussels summit some North Toronto will find OCO's range for cyber section collection messages versus thousands of intelligence data for plot for cyber. The shared African template actionable sharing info with coalition data accelerate progress in 2019 allies and force rules. Response to cyber activities, all of their evidence is extremely old from 2019 to assume a recent strategic from the Brussels summit. They say that NATO OCOs cause an entrapment risk. Their card is about current OCOs, which proves argument that it's inevitable and that proves argument that it's inevitable. Yes, politics invasion. Their reports don't know about Ukraine. It does not assume a long-term collapse in U.S. and Europe deterrence, which was dropped. The U.S. would have withdrawn from NATO. Russia obviously would be deterred, which is what their evidence is about. Yes, they do have an intent for all 24 Russia's intent capability. Was consistent with the only variable who have strong intelligence. Russian leaders making preparation for war against the Baltic and collapses. The Soviet Union was the greatest catastrophe of the 20th century. British cyber attack. The Russian population outside its borders, and they have the capability. Void NL 24 new systems. Russian military capabilities. National dumping. Over the confidence of more like the Russians. Is there a 947? The greater battle force need for Russians. The merger nuclear power versus powerful and defense and deploys SPD and West Nile possible Russian return. 100,000 men. Yes, it will go nuclear program deployed TNWs in Belarus and this is on high alert. There are core evidence as well. Doesn't see recent TNW deployments. Yes, they will invade NATO class. Is inevitable, which was above the commitment traps they managed to
You should read that Cafe Hicks card. Sorry.
The what?
So.
Oh.
The uniqueness US
okay.
card.
The back to OCS and Kathleen Hicks just said publicly we're going for cyber techniques for 22 Pentagon. If all British missile defense are not going to mean several look at opportunities that are not going to highlight unity for integrated missile defense include cyber. He's only seen to explain the tools aerospace defense and city wants to tell the rise minds will run wild beyond the kinetic game. The commitment traps and managed to see no impact. Commitment traps because there's no offense on any other flows. Now the secret NFU counterplan not going for concede or we're not extending the first advantage to its relevant concede that they don't they said that they don't solve the second advantage. The second advantage is offense. The elections to that Trump will win now. First, there's no go impact conceded. We saw via fiat because they feel the US will first use trade collapses and now because US hegemony is unsustainable, which was dropped to no turns case plan being believed is irrelevant. We conceded the credibility does not matter for the Europe advantage because it's just a question of US hegemony is resolved and fiat solves. We also solve Trump nuclear nuking everyone and the no turns case or turns collapse and everyone. Our argument the plan makes sure that Europe is ready to prepare for it because they know the US declared an NFU, which is a citadel of declaring resolve, which they have dropped now. Trump will win. One is polls proof. He's leading 6 F7 Smith, 1 and 2 old, and they disprove if his presidency has dinner. 2 structural advantages. Biden has an incumbency disadvantage. Everyone pins Afghanistan, Ukraine, Israel, inflation. 10 that's taken 3 polls are better. They overestimate Democratic performance, and they've underperformed historically, which was dropped for air after psychologically primed against concerning the risk. That's KK5. They dropped the Russia hacks. They have the technology they won in 2016. Irrespective of who is actually winning, is dropped from 1 hour 6 ongoing swing state polling cruisers. No Biden bomb Trump polls are better on every issue by a large margin. Con 4-3 Trump leads. No Biden was expanding from other reasons. Biden was pussy ever. His SOU and the end department there's more hopes for without merit on paper, but just like testimonies that are options interpretation on every issue. So large 1 7 third parties make that deficit irrecoverable. Cowan and Kessler 4-5 series. No swing state polls offer Democrats opportunities to jumpers to give the Biden represent all 3 seats, but the stable country down right matter about party candidates for added Biden to the Philip Trump does not allow just industries. Then moves out to Trump for Biden because we're biggest for election candidates. Trump ace in the hole with money to say has a mythical 2016 20,000 record Biden. No party to let me Biden impact 8. Biden is trailing his 2020 performance. Couple 327 Biden enters. Journal should be good at 2020 constitution. Trump swings by Show Trump leading by a clear. Nobody was comment in 2020 is 9. The polls are best. Not cause rescue polling and change 4 or 5 Trump now has found denial refuses to believe polls showing but it's really unpopular Trump is but it really better polls are like your Tracy standards maybe Trump do not anything such as that polling that are assumed about no working class only turn in presidential elections on file all from the stuff Trump unprovable by polls account on good luck no mentally agitated total no mentally agitated total and now Biden's total they say the Rosenberg evidence don't the correlation is not causation just because Rosenberg predicted it once doesn't mean he's a wizard who will know every single election the Bill Kevin evidence is wrong about caucuses not Biden versus Trump quoting a Democratic representative this quoting a Democratic representative so obviously it was Biden is ahead the battleground state stuff was answered by Biden Trump is still winning in those which are not small margins to large margins structure that was above the plan now there's absolutely no link to there are links to NEG bad cards about members of Congress and warhawks of the government that returning bad cards are thrown Biden's already soft on China proven by meeting machine trying to do artificial their voters care about nukes partisan AFF partisan their voters are scared of nuclear war so they would like the AFF and nuclear restraint under their evidence neither voters can protest it and we should not consider nukes a standalone issue now don't be an idiot the election is not about foreign policy word and very 1020 will actually be a foreign policy election they want to say but nothing foreign policy matters for what is what happen 3 months their evidence says it's important this is increasing not that it's actually more God's level 73 foreign policy staff in the past relations with the relevant rules of software as a choice of potential news which is which over commercial carbon immigration foreign policy staff for 8 foreign policy staff for 12 issue card mark the card issue back to the OCO stuff there's no difference between US and NATO halves any of the cost moving trees there's no uniqueness for the turn now go back to elections Biden support for Israel also loses in the election Muslim voters in Michigan Swedes it cites trend to 21 Muslims on America Michigan Minnesota Georgia Arizona 240,000 Muslims in Michigan 150,000 Muslims really cut out women that Muslim point blank mark the card please
533.
Yep.
It's gonna be the Europe decide, or no, it's gonna be the decide then go.
Wait, what? I'm sorry, what?
Elections decide, Europe advantage.
Oh, that's Europe. Man, you've really fallen off. What's this,
Okay, everyone good? Trump 2.0 is existential, via great power, war, and adventures, unbenevolence, adversaries, undermines alliances, and rebels across the globe, making structural war inevitable in every actor. Two scenarios we'll go for. First is North Korea. Trump ramps up threats which causes North Korea preemptive strike, which escalates quickly because of Chinese and U.S. being intertwined in the region there. Arguments about NFU resolving it do not matter because our scenario is a North Korean preemptive strike that always on magnitude causes extinction because a massive number of nukes being launched kills billions instantly and collapsing society ensures no one survives, which is the Atkins card. Causes U.S. a response because we can just respond second strike, which collapses the scenario about European dominance because that will be inevitable. Second, trade collapse. Trump restarts and ramps up the trade war with China. Could have allies and decks to every other trade agreement ensures protectionism that collapses the global trade and ripples across the globe, ensuring the inevitable demise in multiple and numerous regions due to lack of public support. Nukes on the low alter make war inevitable. Always on magnitude. The only AF impact is Russia. Ours ripples across the globes and entombs it in nuclear war. It turns the AF. One is conventional miscalculations that escalate under Trump. They dropped the fever card that says that Trump escalates and ramps up tensions with a bunch of adversaries and Russia, which inevitably draws them into war. Second, the U.S. extended deterrence was reliant on Trump. All of the troops withdrawal, etc., is not an argument absent swinging the election. The link turns the AF, causes rollback. That was dropped by the 1 AR. Trump runs and wins the election on NFU bad, causes him to rid it. First thing in offense, all their arguments about the 2AC4 attitude, no fiat is bad, I mean they cannot fiat out of these arguments, so it zeroes the AF. Also, if we win a link to the decide, it means the case is zero because, or the uniqueness argument means the case is zero because the only scenario where it is bad is, or the advantage is triggered is under the AF. The uniqueness debate, I'll do it here. There will be a couple cards that will be sent out in a second. I apologize. Computer just turned off.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I'm gonna pause that at 4:23.
Yep. There we go. We're back.
Okay, the computer is back.
Good.
Uniqueness debate, Biden wins now. The most predictive metric in early primaries and special elections. Biden's outperforming polls in those races, which is the Rosenberg evidence. Actual voting outweighs. He's statistically ahead on random elections like primaries, special elections, etc., where it's indicative of how voters are actually acting. Polls are a snapshot, not predictive, which should frame the entire debate. Trump is consistently underperforming them based on them, and they are simply reflective of an opinion that are not out of time, that are not indicative of how you would actually vote. Hacking was not in the 2EC, but no reason why it matters because we've identified Biden's base as the key voters that get flipped, and those voters are immune to misinformation. Cohen card is just citing Wall Street Journal. A, it is wrong. Other factors are indicative of a win. B, the newest polling says he's winning in Pennsylvania, which is key to the election, which is the Plumer card dropped, which means all of the arguments and evidence indicative of the Wall Street Journal post is irrelevant because we both indicted and read more recent evidence with more recent polls. Third parties don't affect the race. Kilgore, 23 latest battleground included candidates barely affected the margins between two major party candidates. Drawing support from the equally. Kapur card is from March, does not assume new polling or special elections in battleground organizing overwhelmed drops. Biden is successfully ahead on ads now that is organizing based on a bunch of key states. The link debate, I will do it here. There's a high risk of it. The plan is focused on Biden. The plan is perceived by Biden being shot soft on defense, which triggers Trump win. It allows Trump to run on Biden being soft on defense, which means he will swing all of the other voters. He loses based on who gets disillusioned, and those people who also do not just vote as a result of it. Most of their evidence is assumptive of how voters swing in mass on Trump, which is not our link argument. He only needs to lose a few thousand voters that are tuned in and care about nuclear and foreign policy to listen. I'll do the line by line here. The first argument is voters caring about nukes card is AF. No, it's not. They've conceded a foreign policy. They have a foreign policy link. There's two arguments. The first is the restraint link. The restraint link. Voters who are swinging do not like restraints on military action, and this is the biggest restraint on military action that has ever happened in the history of the United States. Which leads to the second link. It is a bolt from the blue. It has never been considered or ever even discussed inside the government. Restraining nuclear first use causes. The plan would be attacked as ceding the international order to the adversaries, which is the listener evidence, which was dropped, which makes it look like Biden is bowing down to Russia and China per their advantage. The third argument is that we have evidence saying that it's TOA for voters right now, which is the Herndon evidence from the 1R, and they do have card zero that they do not care about nukes proper. The single issue outweighs because it is for those voters. The final argument is that Israel and Muslims Muslims in Michigan will vote against it. One, he's winning in Michigan right now per the unique evidence, which means this obviously does not matter. Second, also like if we win our polling stuff, it doesn't matter. Secondly, voters are restrained now, and their polls about their votes about Michigan or Israel do not matter because their polls, and we have indicted those. Thirdly, he does not need Michigan to win on his own because we have won that. He is winning the blue wall right now, which means the dissad is high. We will read these cards also. Support for Israel helps Biden. Melman in 323. Politics in Israel. Escobar said Gaza was the native vulnerability. There's also no evidence of doing that whatsoever. People disagree. It has nothing to do with societies on the large numbers. Palestine in small numbers. That he thinks to Israel is not supported by Israel, which is the problem. Europe. Massive blunder in the 1 AR. They read uniqueness cards saying OCOs happen now, but dropped an impact that OCOs escalate and cause a Russian first strike, which means we will extend the impact proper. OCOs are happening in the status quo per the 1 AR. That escalates and causes the Russian user appears, which causes Russian first strike. That outweighs, and they do not get new 2 AR answers to it. It means Russia war is structurally inevitable, but we will win that they will not invade the Baltics. One, they dropped that they have no interest to it, no interest in it, which is the Rotskis evidence. They have no reason to invade it because they do not have any military or economic gain to be made from getting that territory. Secondly, they won't nuke it, which means it will not escalate, and NATO to conventional deterrence will stall, which is the key evidence from the 2 and C. It means that because they have people speak Russian there and they want those people to integrate into Russia, they will not use a nuclear weapon, which means that NATO Article 5 will not trigger, which is their scenario. Finally, NATO is still scary, which is the combination evidence. The evidence from the 1 and C. NATO still has the full force of the other nuclear umbrella in the status quo, and in the status quo also has the U.S. nuclear umbrella, which they are deterred by per their evidence. Also, the dissad turns it a risk that Biden wins in the status quo means that the advantage goes away completely.
Those two cards represent.
What do we do those?
They should have already been out.
Separately. Okay. 340.
It's impossible to get to the birthday. You wait for me too. Queen's night birthday? Okay, I went to Savo for my birthday. Yeah. And it was incredible. Like an unreal experience. But also quite expensive. I mean, it was like definitely worth it for my birthday. Yeah. I wouldn't, probably not gonna like solo. To miss out of? Dude, yes. So it's right next to where we live in Fort Greene. But we wandered upon it because we were just at Fort Greene on Saturday. Yeah. And we were like, oh, I'm hungry. We popped over to the Zeta. And so incredible. We didn't have to wait. That's wow. And then every single time since then, I've been like, I'd really love to go to the Zeta. It looks so nice. And it's like, oh, you can't get a reservation for the next 10 months.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. They almost use for walk-in, which is nice.
The U bills are great, especially as it's getting better. That's nice.
Yeah.
This place is not that great. It's maybe the same people as some, but it's not as good.
Shut up.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Personally, I'm anti-Italian. I don't really get why you pay for Italian. Yeah, you go, like, it's not bad. Moved to 90.
Have you been to Tatiana?
No,
That's the one everyone's like excited about.
everyone's trying to get out.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
No, it has to be the problem is, there's too many restaurants in the city. And I would like to go to many of them, but then also, there's always a risk that it's worse than the ones that I like.
This is conflict we have is like democratic thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you're like, I can just have, like there's a place nearby, Culver's
we solve with the conceptually simplest ballot is that you can solve one of these impacts, but not the other. The collapse of U.S. extended insurance is inevitable in the long run because the military relies on brittle supply chains and public support will wane, particularly in the form of Trump. But even if not Trump in 2024, then support will wane in 2028 or 2032, which means that inevitably the U.S. will withdraw from NATO. That will produce a fractured response that produces a Russian window of opportunity for invasion of the Baltics that goes nuclear because they use their TNWs and are unrestrained by the sort of collapse of U.S. presence and the fractured European response to that, which escalates a NATO Europe war that is existential. The first argument is the OCOs now. You should close off other pathways to war. Obviously, extinction is never certain, but you can prevent a Baltic invasion that causes extinction, even if OCOs are happening in the status quo. You should not accept extinction nihilism. Otherwise, there's also no reason to vote negative. But we prevent a great power war with North Korea that at worst prevents millions of deaths, which is a tiebreaker. The Baltics defense, the one no interest card is from 2018, from 2024. The one here says yes, interest opportunity is the only variable they want to reunite the Soviet Union. It is that the Putin described the collapse of the Soviet Union as the greatest catastrophe of the 20th century, which I will remind you involved World War I and World War II. It does an explicit military analysis of Putin's motives. They won't nuke it. Yes, they will nuke it. The Bowen card, I think, from the ONC says they will use TNWs and deterrence collapse between the U.S. and NATO, makes them less restrained. The NATO conventional deterrence solves argument is our argument. The wall evidence from the ONC says that we need to do the plan to sort of wake Europe up before Trump election or before the wane of U.S. support to cause them to rearm. NATO conventional deterrence will collapse in the long term, and U.S. withdrawal will host it for sure. The yes will argument, the argument about people state Russian is our yes will argument, but it will escalate in the because Putin will use TNWs. The sort of other umbrella is an assertion. The U.S. umbrella will sort of the credibility of the U.S. umbrella will collapse inevitably in the long term, and the U.S. commitment is incredible, which means that it does not deter this card. Argument is also not in any of their cards, and France is not extending nuclear umbrella over NATO news flash, which means that there is certainly a risk of our impact. The DISA does not turn it. It is not time sensitive. Our arguments have been about Trump in the short term, but eventually the U.S. commitment will come out collapse without Trump, at which point Europe will scramble. That is the Tochi evidence. It creates a window of opportunity, even if not in 2024. It could be in 2028. They dropped all of our other uniqueness cards to say the long-term decline in public support and imperial overstretch will produce a collapse of U.S. conventional deterrence in the Baltics, which means that we need to prepare for it now, which means that Biden winning doesn't actually solve this advantage, because inevitably this will become a problem, and Baltic invasion will inevitably happen if Europe hasn't rearmed, and they are counting on the enduring U.S. security umbrella when the security umbrella is unsustainable. That is that. Both of the first thing that the North Korea impact is the plan solves it by preventing first use of the Barris card from the ONC says that it imposes a constraint on the second Trump presidency so that he can escalate, quote, stubborn refractory escalatory dynamics with North Korea or first use a nuclear weapon. No evidence says preemption. You should read their 1 and 2 card. It is slaughter painted and just says maybe there would be a war with North Korea, and then one of our evidence says that a war with North Korea would be bad. It does not say that North Korea will preempt. The more likely scenario is that Trump would preempt, but the U.S. government's first use. You can remember in 2018 he threatened fire and fury against North Korea, which means that we solved this impact to the trade collapse. In fact, they dropped the trade collapse. It's notable. There's rising protections and a decline of U.S. global influence. This was flagged in the 1 year on the unique page and on this the page, which means that they can't solve this impact either, even if Biden wins. The turns out the Russia impact, the conventional argument is wrong. We prevent the war from going nuclear, which is the Bears evidence. The extended deterrence relies on Trump. This is the blip in the 2 and R. I'm not sure what it means, but extended deterrence will collapse inevitably. It is better to wake Europe up in the short term, which is the one evidence from the ONC. The link does not show the case. Obviously, we get German fiat, otherwise the F always listens to circumvention. Argument was an action fiat battle on the capital, otherwise the F, but not sort of you can't fiat a policy and say that people are bound to it. Fiating a policy and having people comply by it is always legitimate. Otherwise, the affirmative would always lose, especially if we win our arguments about Trump winning, because then he would obviously circumvent the affirmative. Does not through the case I was answered on the other page. The Biden win stuff. I'm going to go through their evidence. First, Biden does not outperform polls. The 2 sees that Hill evidence. The one in our card says that Hill underperforms polls. That is their Samuel's card, which indicates that if we win our arguments, which 2 and R has largely dropped about polling and Biden being or Trump being ahead in the polls, then Trump is doubly special ahead because you have because Biden or Trump overperforms the polls. The Rosenberg evidence is totally fake. It's not causation. The one person being right about one election is not causation, or does not mean he can predict the next one. The Milligan evidence is about one win in New York City on Tuesday, not about presidential elections. The argument about special elections is wrong. It is not about Trump. It is about elections for things like senators and governors around the country, but it's not about the presidential election. The battleground organizing card is flattered, painted, and not highlighted sufficiently. But all of our uniqueness arguments say that there is insufficient battleground organizing right now because Biden is broadly unpopular. Our uniqueness argument, one, polling is certainly neg. Trump leads Biden in battleground states including Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. They just said there's Pennsylvania. That is one of 7 swing states Trump is leading. The other ones they have said that is key code evidence. Is the best news around us from 3 days ago. It seems that Biden's millions in advertising. Advertising is not a magic wand. Voters tell you to watch videos of Biden propaganda do not change the negative impression of his job performance, economic stewardship, Gaza, Ukraine, age, etc. That's code 2. Right parties, third parties make the deficit irrecoverable if they're right. The margin is thin. Even a small impact matters. Kennedy will move the outcome toward Trump because people are more likely to vote for him or people who would otherwise vote for Biden in 2016 and 2000 prove that third parties matter. The votes they got were larger than the margin of Republican victory. That's Cowan and Kessler. 3 polls are not skewed and are highly accurate. They predicted correctly in 2016 2020. The only other way they are skewed is that they underperformed Trump, which proves their polls bad arguments are affirmative arguments for structural advantage. If you're unsure which way polls go now, this is the tiebreaker. When I see Kagan evidence is phenomenal. It says that regardless of whether voters are on the fence, at the end of the day, Biden's current underperformance is in the spotlight. They are most practically thinking about Afghanistan, Ukraine, Israel, and inflation. Finally, they have dropped 2 cards on psychological biases, which is the 1AC Kagan evidence and the 1AR. Whatever the 1AR card was to enter polls, which says that you are psychologically primed to believe that something will inevitably stop Trump and that we are not cruising toward American dictatorship. And the 1AR card says that you are dumb if you mentally add a couple of points to Biden's poll margin of victory just because we are psychologically primed to believe that fatalism is not true and that a Trump election is not inevitable. But in reality it is, which means that you should overcorrect against all of their evidence. And decisively winning uniqueness plus Baltic's impact means the only impact that you can solve is ours. Good debate.